The lobby of Helix Tech Tower glowed with polished marble and cold morning light as Lena Whitmore stepped inside, clutching a folder to her chest. She barely took 2 steps before a manicured hand grabbed her wrist. Aubrey Lane, tall, glossy, dangerous, pulled her toward a corner near the glass wall. Her Dior handbag swung like a weapon. "Let's make this quick," Aubrey whispered, sliding a thick white envelope into Lena's palm. $50,000. Take it, disappear, and stop embarrassing yourself. Lena froze. The envelope felt heavier than money. It felt like humiliation pressed into paper. Aubrey leaned in, smiling like a wolf in lipstick. "You should thank me. Brandon deserves a woman who elevates him, not whatever this is." A few nearby employees gasped softly, pretending not to stare. Someone dropped a coffee cup. Heat rushed through Lena's cheeks, but her voice refused to rise. "I'm his wife," she whispered. "Not for long," Aubrey replied. "Sign the divorce papers, walk away, and I won't leak the little financial incompetence rumor I've prepared about you." Lena's stomach twisted. She couldn't lose her job, not with her mother's medical bills piling up. Then a new voice cut through the air, calm, deep, unmistakably authoritative. "I suggest you put that envelope away," the man said. Aubrey stiffened. Slowly, both women turned. Seated on the leather sofa, a man in a charcoal suit looked up from his tablet. He had sharp eyes, a Mont Blanc pen clipped to his pocket, and the kind of presence that made even executives stand straighter. Cole Mercer, COO of Mercer Capital, one of the most influential men in Silicon Valley, and he had heard everything. Aubrey's confidence flickered. Lena's breath caught. Cole rose to his feet. "What you're doing," he said evenly, "isn't just unethical, it's stupid." And in that moment, Lena realized her life was about to change, whether she wanted it to or not. The ride home felt colder than the San Francisco fog rolling over the bay. Lena sat silently in the passenger seat of Brandon's Mercedes as he drove, tapping angrily on his iPhone as if her presence inconvenienced him. Not a single question. Not a glance. Not even a, "How was your day?" When they finally pulled into the parking garage of their apartment building in Pacific Heights, he slammed the door hard enough to make her flinch. Inside the elevator, he finally spoke. "So," Brandon said, keeping his eyes on his screen, "I heard you caused a scene today." Lena blinked. "A scene? Brandon? Your mistress humiliated me in front of your co-workers. She gave me money. Money to disappear." He shrugged. "You shouldn't have engaged. Aubrey can be dramatic. You know how young women are." The words hit her like ice water. Young women. He didn't even bother to hide it anymore. When the elevator doors opened, Brandon walked out first, not waiting. Their luxury apartment, glass walls, high ceilings, a view of the Bay Bridge, felt more like a museum than a home. Cold, echoing, designed to impress, never to comfort. Lena set her bag down, her fingers trembling. "You don't care that she threatened me?" Brandon tossed his keys on the marble counter and loosened his tie. "Lena, you always overreact. If you didn't make everything so emotional, Aubrey wouldn't feel threatened." She stared at him, stunned. "Threatened? She's trying to replace me." "Brandon." He looked up, finally meeting her eyes, but only with irritation. "Maybe because you're slipping. You're not the woman I married. You've become needy." Her chest tightened, hard. "So this is my fault?" He smirked. "You said it, not me." That was the moment Lena realized this wasn't a marriage. It was a cage, dressed up as a partnership. Later that night, she sat alone on the edge of the bed, while Brandon showered, humming the song Aubrey once posted on her Instagram story with a caption, "Someone special requested this." Lena felt something crack, not loudly, but deeply, quietly, permanently. She lowered her head into her hands and whispered into the empty room. I'm losing myself. But somewhere beneath the heartbreak, a small spark flickered, the faint, fragile beginning of a woman who wouldn't stay broken for long. The apartment lights flickered on automatically as Lena stepped into the living room, but the space felt colder than the night outside. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glowing San Francisco skyline. Thousands of glittering lights, each one reminding her of a life she thought she was building. But tonight, the view mocked her. She walked past the marble kitchen island, where she and Brandon once shared late-night takeout, laughing about work and dreaming about children they never ended up having. Now, only silence lived here, hovering over stainless steel appliances and untouched wine glasses. Her phone buzzed. A text from Brandon, sent from the other room. Don't forget to transfer the utility payment. You're behind again. Lena stared at the message, her pulse tightening. She wasn't behind. Brandon had moved money out of their joint account without telling her. Again. Another form of control hidden behind numbers and bank apps. She typed back. We need to talk. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. She sank into the soft leather couch, the one Brandon insisted on buying from a premium showroom because successful couples need furniture that looks successful. She hugged a pillow to her chest, the stillness pressing against her. Then, a faint vibration on the entryway table. Her iPad lit up with Brandon's email notifications synced to her account. He must have forgotten it was connected when he changed his passwords. Subject line after subject line flashed across the screen. Dinner tonight. She's out late, right? Aubrey, you promised you'd tell her soon. We can finally be together once she signs. Make sure she doesn't get the retirement account. Lena's breath caught, her vision blurred. It wasn't just betrayal, it was strategy. A campaign to erase her completely. A quiet sob escaped her as she backed away from the table. Her knees nearly buckled. Then another sound, a door clicking open. Brandon emerged from the bedroom, shirtless, towel around his neck, scrolling casually on his phone. He looked up, saw her trembling, saw the iPad glowing, and his expression didn't turn guilty or apologetic. It turned cold, calculated. Lena, he said, stepping forward slowly, put that down. You're overstepping. Overstepping into her own life, her own marriage. For the first time, something inside her shifted, not fully awake yet, but rising. Brandon didn't rush toward Lena. He didn't snatch the iPad from her hands. He simply walked forward with the calmness of a man who believed, without a shred of doubt, that he still controlled the entire narrative. Give it to me, he repeated, slower this time, as if speaking to a child. Lena shook her head, backing up until her spine pressed against the cold glass window overlooking the bay. Her voice trembled. How long has this been going on? Brandon sighed, rubbing his forehead. God, Lena, you're being dramatic again. You take everything so personally. Her breath hitched. Again. Dramatic, his favorite word, sharp enough to cut, soft enough to sound reasonable. But these emails, Brandon, she's planning a future with you. She gets carried away, he shrugged. Aubrey is young, emotional. I can't control how she interprets things. You told her you would leave me, Lena whispered. He met her eyes finally. Something dangerously close to irritation flaring there. Look, you've been slipping. You've been distant. What did you expect would happen? Her stomach twisted. I've been working 2 jobs to help pay for my mother's medical bills, she said softly. You know that. Brandon laughed, short, cold. Yes, and I've been carrying this marriage emotionally. We all have our burdens, Lena. Emotionally. as if cruelty counted as emotional labor. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You need to stop snooping. Drop this. Don't embarrass yourself. I'm your wife," she whispered. "For now." The words hit her like a physical blow. Brandon continued, pacing. "Honestly, it might be better for both of us if you went back to your mother's for a while. You're unstable lately. Aubrey thinks you hate her. That's unhealthy." Lena stared at him, disbelieving. "Aubrey thinks, Brandon, she offered me money to leave you." He waved a dismissive hand. "She probably meant it kindly. You twist everything." Something inside Lena finally, quietly snapped. "I'm done letting you define reality," she said, her voice unexpectedly steady. Brandon froze, mid-step. For the first time he saw something in her eyes. Not fear, not confusion, but a spark. Small, growing, dangerous, and he didn't like it. Not one bit. Lena didn't sleep that night. She lay awake on the far edge of the bed while Brandon snored beside her, peaceful, unbothered, as if he hadn't just rewritten their entire marriage into a narrative where she was the problem. At 3:17 a.m., she slipped out of bed and walked into the kitchen. The city lights glittered across the bay like distant promises she no longer believed in. She wrapped her arms around herself, fighting the tremor in her hands. Her phone buzzed. A notification from the bank. Joint account transfer, 1,200. Another from Brandon's personal account. Deposit, $200. Her throat tightened. He had moved money again. Money meant for her mother's medication. Before she could even process the betrayal, another notification appeared. This time, an email. From Aubrey Lane. Subject, friendly reminder. Lena opened it with shaking hands. "Brandon said you're struggling again. I can help you if you stop making things complicated. The offer still stands. Some women just aren't built for long-term partnerships with successful men." The audacity punched the air from her lungs. Aubrey's words felt surgical, each one designed to carve out another piece of her worth. Lena's vision blurred. She sat at the table, trying to steady her breathing. Then she heard footsteps. Brandon appeared in the doorway, hair messy, voice groggy. "Why are you up?" She held up her phone. "You moved the money again. My mom needs her medication tomorrow." He yawned. "Lena, your mom has survived worse. She'll be fine. Stop panicking." Her jaw dropped. "Stop. Brandon, she's sick. Why would you—" He cut her off with a raised hand. "I needed to cover a dinner with potential investors. You think success pays for itself?" "I think your mother-in-law's health should matter more than impressing strangers," she whispered. Brandon rolled his eyes. "You're unbelievably selfish sometimes." Selfish. The woman working 2 jobs. The woman holding their marriage together. The woman sacrificing everything. Lena felt something inside her shift. Slow, heavy, irreversible. She looked at Brandon, truly looked, and finally saw the truth. This man would never choose her. Not her pain. Not her family. Not her future. And for the first time, the idea of leaving didn't feel terrifying. It felt possible. The next morning, Lena walked into Helix Tech with the weight of 1,000 unspoken apologies on her shoulders. She moved carefully, as if a single wrong step might cause her entire life to collapse in front of everyone. Everyone was looking at her. Whispers trailed behind her like shadows. A few co-workers exchanged glances, brows raised with quiet pity, others with judgment. Aubrey's rumor mill was clearly working overtime. As Lena approached her desk, she saw the first sign of it, a sticky note taped to her monitor. "You should have taken the money." Her breath stuttered. She glanced around, but no one met her eyes. She sat down slowly, gripping the edge of the desk to steady herself. Everything inside her screamed to go home, but home wasn't safe anymore either. She forced herself to breathe, in Out. Keep it together. Then a voice she didn't expect broke through the haze. Rough morning? Lena looked up. Cole Mercer stood in front of her desk, sleeves rolled up, coffee in hand. Not the kind of man who belonged in an open-floor office surrounded by cubicles. He radiated quiet authority. She straightened immediately. "Mr. Mercer, I'm sorry about yesterday. I didn't mean for you to see." "Don't apologize," he said gently. "I only stepped in because the situation was inappropriate." Lena's cheeks heated. "I didn't want any of this. I just want to keep my job." Cole studied her for a moment, as if evaluating the truth beneath her words. "Are you in danger?" She blinked. "No." "Well, not physically. Financially? Professionally?" The questions hit too close, and Lena felt her eyes sting. She shook her head quickly, embarrassed. "I don't want to cause trouble." Cole exhaled softly. "Sometimes trouble finds people who don't deserve it." Before she could answer, Aubrey strutted across the office, stopping just long enough to sneer. "Oh, good. You're here. Try not to cry at your desk today." Cole's jaw tightened. His eyes turned sharp, predatory. But he didn't confront Aubrey. Not yet. Instead, he turned back to Lena. "Meet me in conference room 7A at lunch," he said quietly. "There's something you need to know." And for the first time in weeks, Lena felt a flicker of something unfamiliar. Not hope, but the possibility of rescue. Lena spent the rest of the morning moving through the office like a ghost. Every whisper felt like a blade. Every glance felt like confirmation that Aubrey's poison had already seeped into the walls. When noon finally came, she slipped quietly into conference room 7A. The blinds were half drawn, letting in slivers of California sunlight that cut across the polished table. Lena sat at the far end, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The door opened. Cole entered, not with the arrogance of a powerful man, but with the calm focus of someone who had already made a difficult decision. He placed a folder on the table. "Before you panic," he said, "I'm not here in any official capacity. This is personal." Lena's heart thudded. "Personal?" Cole nodded slowly. "I heard more than you think yesterday. Not just the envelope, but the way Aubrey spoke to you, the way she spoke about you." Lena swallowed hard. "She wants me gone." "I know." He slid the folder toward her. Inside were printed HR reports, screenshots, and a copy of an internal complaint. "Aubrey filed this," Cole said. "At 8:14 this morning. She claims you're emotionally unstable, disrupting the workplace, and harassing her." Lena's blood ran cold. "She what?" "She's positioning herself as the victim," he continued. "If this escalates, she plans to argue that you should be terminated on grounds of misconduct." A tremor ran through Lena's body. Losing her job meant losing health insurance, losing stability, losing the only safety net she had left. "But I've done nothing wrong," Lena whispered. Cole leaned forward, voice steady. "That doesn't matter to people who want power. Aubrey is playing a game. Brandon is backing her, and you are the easiest piece to remove." Her breath hitched painfully. "So what do I do?" "You prepare," Cole said. "You protect yourself, and you stop assuming they'll play fair." Lena looked down at the folder, the evidence of a war she never started, but was already losing. Cole stood, pausing at the door. "You're stronger than you think, Lena, but you can't fight this alone." When he left, the room felt unbearably still. Lena pressed her palms to her eyes, fighting back tears. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a trap. And she had just realized she was already standing in the center of it. That evening, the air inside the apartment felt unusually heavy, as if the walls themselves sensed a storm coming. Lena stepped inside cautiously, gripping the folder Cole had given her. She wasn't sure why she expected Brandon to be home early, but there he was, sitting on the couch, scrolling through his iPad with a glass of bourbon in hand. He didn't look up when she entered. Of course he didn't. "Brandon," she began softly. "We need to talk." He took a sip, never lifting his eyes. "Make it fast. I'm tired." Lena swallowed. "Aubrey filed a complaint against me. She's trying to get me fired." "Good," he said flatly. Her pulse spiked. "Good? Brandon, I need that job. My mom's medical bills." He cut her off with a lazy wave. "I'll take care of your mom's bills if you stop making trouble at work. You getting fired might actually solve a few problems." Her heart dropped. "Whose problems?" "Mine." He finally met her eyes. Cold, impatient, annoyingly calm. "You've become a distraction, Lena. Aubrey has been helping me with investor relations, and she thinks your emotional episodes are reflecting badly on us." "Us?" she whispered. "Or just her?" Brandon leaned back, expression sharp. "Truthfully, she thinks we need space, and she's right." Space. The word echoed in Lena's chest like a cavern cracking open. Before she could speak, Brandon stood, walked into the bedroom, and returned with a small suitcase. Her suitcase. "Maybe stay with your mom for a while," he said. "At least until this HR mess dies down." Lena stared, stunned. "You're kicking me out?" "It's not kicking out," he said smoothly. "It's resetting expectations." Resetting. Like she was some malfunctioning device. Lena felt the room tilt. Her throat tightened, her vision fuzzing at the edges. But the final blow landed when Brandon opened the front door and flicked his hand outward. "I'll transfer a few $100s so you can get a hotel tonight." A few hundred, after draining their accounts, after letting Aubrey humiliate her. Lena clutched the handle of her suitcase, numb. As she stepped into the hallway, Brandon added casually, "Oh, and don't come back until I say so." The door shut behind her with a quiet click, a sound far more devastating than a slam. The motel room smelled faintly of bleach and old carpet. Nothing like the crisp, eucalyptus-scented luxury of the apartment Lena had just been thrown out of. The flickering neon sign outside her window painted the room in a sickly red glow. It felt like a place people went when they had no other choices. Tonight, she was one of them. Lena set her small suitcase on the sagging bed. Her hand shook as she unzipped it, revealing only a few clothes, her planner, and a framed photo of her mother. The contrast was painful. This cramped, dim room versus the glass and marble life she had been exiled from. Her phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Stay put. Stay put." As if she were a problem to be contained. She closed her eyes, fighting the sting in her chest. When she finally opened them, tears blurred the neon glow into streaks of red. She sank to the edge of the bed, clutching the photo of her mother. "I'm trying, Mom," she whispered. "I swear I'm trying." Her stomach churned with panic. She checked her bank account. Brandon had transferred exactly $312. Not enough for more than a couple nights here. Certainly not enough for her mother's prescriptions. A sudden knock startled her. Her heart leapt into her throat. She approached the door cautiously. "Lena." The voice froze her in place. Not Brandon. Not Aubrey. Cole. She opened the door a crack, stunned to see him standing under the buzzing hallway light, holding 2 paper bags of food and a warm, steady expression. How did you find me?" Lena stammered. "You weren't at home," Cole said simply. "And you didn't show up on the employee tracker. I guessed you needed help." Her throat tightened. "I shouldn't involve you." "I'm already involved," he said softly. "Not because of your husband, because what happened to you is wrong." He stepped inside, setting the food on the tiny table, taking in the worn curtains and peeling paint. His jaw tightened, but not at her. At the situation she'd been forced into. "Lena," he said gently, "you can't stay here. I don't have anywhere else to go." Cole met her eyes, and something in his expression shifted. Resolve, unmistakable. "You do now." And for the first time that night, Lena felt a breath of air reach her lungs. The elevator of the Union Square boutique hotel glided upward with a soft hum, nothing like the rattling steel cage of the motel Lena had just escaped. Cole stood beside her, hands in his pockets, giving her space while quietly watching her out of the corner of his eye, making sure she didn't collapse. When the elevator doors opened, he led her into a corner suite, warm lighting, cream-colored walls, a view stretching all the way to the bay. It was peaceful, safe, and so far from the chaos of her life that her knees weakened. "Cole." "This is too much," she whispered. "It's temporary," he said. "Just until we stabilize things." Stabilize. As if her life were a damaged system he genuinely wanted to repair. He set a keycard on the desk. "You're not locked in. You're not being watched. This isn't charity. Just a place to breathe." Lena's throat constricted. No man had spoken to her like that in years. Without judgment, without ownership, without expectation. She sank onto the sofa, clutching a pillow as if it were an anchor. "I don't know who I am anymore," she admitted. "Brandon controlled everything. Our money, our apartment, the way people saw me. Now I'm just empty." Cole sat in the armchair across from her, keeping a respectful distance. "You're not empty," he said. "You're exhausted. There's a difference." Lena let out a shaking breath. "I'm scared. Brandon knows how to twist things. And Aubrey, she doesn't even try to hide that she wants my life." Cole's jaw tightened. "I've dealt with people like them before. They don't stop until someone stands up to them." "I'm not strong enough," Lena murmured. "You're wrong." His voice was quiet but firm. "I saw strength yesterday. Most people would have taken the money. You didn't." Silence filled the room. Heavy, vulnerable. Then Cole reached into his jacket and pulled out a flash drive. "There's something you need to see," he said. Information Brandon didn't expect anyone to find. Lena's pulse quickened. "What kind of information?" Cole met her eyes steadily. "The kind that proves you're not the problem." Outside, the city glittered endlessly. Unaware that Lena Whitmore was about to learn a truth powerful enough to shatter everything she thought she knew. By morning, the Union Square suite glowed with soft golden light, warming the quiet edges of a life Lena still wasn't sure she deserved. She sat curled on the sofa, wrapped in a hotel robe, staring at the flash drive Cole had given her the night before. Sleep had come in scattered fragments. Every time she closed her eyes, Brandon's voice dragged her back into old fears. But today felt different. Today felt possible. She inserted the flash drive into the hotel's MacBook Air. Files opened instantly. Clean, organized, damning. Brandon's financial trail, hidden transactions, duplicate invoices, unexplained cash withdrawals, all spread across her screen like pieces of a puzzle she suddenly understood how to solve. Her heart pounded. "He's been stealing from the company," she whispered. "Not pocket change, not mistakes. A pattern, a crime." Cole stepped into the room with a quiet knock, holding 2 coffees from the Starbucks downstairs. He set one in front of her. "You looked like someone who needs caffeine and clarity." Lena exhaled shakily. This could get him arrested." "It could," Cole confirmed. "But more importantly, it protects you. Because if he's willing to risk prison, he's willing to sacrifice anyone, including his wife, to cover his trail." Lena stared at the screen again. Her brain buzzed with fear, outrage, and some raw new power surging up from a place she didn't know existed. "I've been blaming myself," she said quietly, "for everything, for not being enough, for him leaving, for Aubrey." Cole leaned against the desk, arms crossed, expression steady. "Lena, abusers always make you feel like the problem. That's the only way they stay in control." Her eyes burned, but this time the tears didn't fall. They evaporated into something sharper. Resolve. "I want to fight back," she said. Cole's eyes softened, pride flickering there. "Then you're going to need to rebuild yourself first, not for revenge, for clarity." He reached into a shopping bag and handed her a slim box. Inside was a brand new Kindle. "I downloaded a few titles," he said gently. "Atomic Habits, Women Who Run with the Wolves, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Start with whichever one feels like oxygen." Lena held the Kindle to her chest. No man had ever given her something to strengthen her, only to weaken her. And for the first time in her adult life, she didn't feel like a burden. She felt like a beginning. Lena spent the next several hours combing through every file on the flash drive. The deeper she went, the colder her hands became. Brandon's embezzlement wasn't an accident. It was a blueprint, a full operation. And someone had been helping him hide the paper trail. Someone who knew exactly how to manipulate numbers. Someone who had access. Someone reckless enough to think she'd never get caught. Aubrey Lane. A sudden chill washed over Lena's spine as she opened a folder marked AL Internal. Inside were screenshots of an older employee database belonging to a marketing firm in Los Angeles, Aubrey's previous job, termination documents, HR complaints, fraud alerts, a non-disclosure agreement stamped across the final page. Lena covered her mouth. Oh my God, she did this before. Just then, the suite door clicked open and Cole stepped inside, sleeves rolled up, a notebook in hand. He paused when he saw Lena's expression. "What did you find?" She turned the screen toward him. Cole's jaw tightened immediately. "I suspected as much." "You knew?" "I didn't know," he said softly. "But I knew Aubrey wasn't clean. People who climb as fast as she does always leave fingerprints somewhere." Lena scrolled down to a paragraph in the HR report. "She caused her previous boss to lose his job. She framed him for mishandling client funds." Cole nodded grimly. "She knows how to weaponize perception. Brandon didn't just choose a mistress. He chose an accomplice." Lena felt a bitter mix of disgust and clarity. The humiliation, the threats, the envelope of money. It had never been personal. It was strategic. Aubrey wasn't trying to steal her marriage. She was trying to erase a liability. Lena's hands trembled, but this time it wasn't fear. It was anger. Focused. Clean. The kind she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. "Cole," she whispered, "if the company finds out she has a history of fraud, then both she and Brandon are finished." Cole finished for her. Permanently. Lena stared at the city skyline through the hotel windows. For the first time, the lights didn't look mocking. They looked like an invitation. "I'm ready," she said. "For the truth. For the fight. For all of it." Cole's expression softened into something almost proud. "Then it's time to turn the tables." Lena had never hired a lawyer before. The very idea felt too big, too intimidating, to other people's world. But as she sat in the Union Square suite, staring at the folder containing Brandon and Aubrey's crimes, she realized something. This was her world now. She had been pushed into a war she never asked for, and she wasn't going to fight it unarmed. With trembling fingers, she dialed the number Cole had scribbled on a hotel notepad earlier that morning. Evelyn Ward, family and corporate law. Reputation? Razor sharp. Success rate, terrifying. The phone rang once, twice. Then, Evelyn Ward speaking. Her voice was calm, crisp, and unmistakably efficient. Lena swallowed hard. Hi, my name is Lena Whitmore. I need help. Is this regarding divorce, financial misconduct, or workplace retaliation? Evelyn asked, as if such disasters were daily occurrences. All three, Lena whispered. A brief pause. Tell me everything. For the next 15 minutes, Lena laid out her story. Brandon's financial control, the humiliation at Helix Tech, Aubrey's bribe, the HR complaint, the embezzlement, the past fraud. Every detail she'd been too afraid to say aloud suddenly spilled out, trembling but real. When she finished, the line went quiet. Uncomfortably quiet. Had she said too much? Then Evelyn exhaled. Mrs. Whitmore, you have no idea how much leverage you're sitting on. Lena blinked. I do? Oh yes. Your husband and his mistress have committed enough violations to dismantle both their careers. And if what you've described is accurate, Helix Tech could face liability for failing to protect you from retaliation. Liability. Leverage. Words she'd never imagined applying to herself. We'll need documentation, Evelyn continued. Emails, screenshots, financial logs. The original envelope Aubrey gave you. Keep everything. Nothing is too small. Lena's voice wavered. Do you really think I can win? I don't take cases I can't win, Evelyn replied. And yours? This is not a case. This is a catastrophe waiting to explode, beneficially for you. For the first time, Lena felt something warm spread through her chest. Not hope, but validation. A sense that she wasn't insane, dramatic, or unstable. She had been abused, and now she had power. We'll meet tomorrow morning, Evelyn said. And Mrs. Whitmore? Yes. By the time I'm done, your husband will regret ever underestimating you. Lena hung up, breath shaking, but her spine straighter than it had been in years. The Napa Valley Charity Gala shimmered beneath strings of golden lights. The kind of event where powerful men made quiet deals and women wore gowns worth more than Lena's annual salary. She stepped out of the black car Cole had arranged for her, the cool night air brushing her shoulders as she looked up at the sprawling vineyard estate. She had never been somewhere so breathtaking, nor somewhere where she felt she had every right to stand. Her dress was simple but striking, deep midnight blue, draping elegantly but not loudly. Her hair swept back, exposing the soft strength in her jawline. She didn't look like the woman who once slept in a rundown motel 3 nights earlier. She looked rebuilt. Cole appeared beside her, offering an arm. You don't have to go in if you're not ready. Lena inhaled slowly. I'm ready. Inside, crystal chandeliers reflected off marble floors, and guests mingled with glasses of champagne. Lena felt the eyes, curious, admiring, whispering. But none of them made her shrink. It was Aubrey who made her blood turn to ice. She appeared at the top of the staircase in a slinky silver gown, Brandon behind her, looking smug, satisfied, like a man who thought he had already won. Aubrey's smile evaporated the second she saw Lena. What is she doing here? Aubrey hissed under her breath as she descended. Brandon's face paled. Lena, how did you get invited? A miracle, she said calmly, taking a sip of champagne. Cole stepped forward, placing a hand lightly on Lena's back. She's with me. A ripple of interest swept through nearby guests. Aubrey's nostrils flared. You shouldn't be here, Aubrey snapped. This isn't your world. Lena tilted her head. Funny. You said the same thing about my marriage. Aubrey's jaw clenched, but Lena wasn't finished. She leaned in, voice low and razor sharp. By the way, that HR complaint you filed, It didn't land the way you hoped. Aubrey blinked. What? Helix Tech is conducting a full investigation, Lena continued softly. Into you. Your history. Your finances. Aubrey's face drained of color. She looked toward Brandon, panic flickering. You said she had nothing. Brandon's confidence wavered for the first time. What did you do, Lena? She smiled. Small, sharp, unstoppable. Tell the truth? I stopped being afraid of you. The ballroom orchestra eased into a soft jazz set as guests drifted toward the center of the floor. Conversations swelled, glasses clinked, and the warm glow of chandeliers shimmered across sequined gowns. But in the middle of all that glitter, a storm gathered. Silent, electric, undeniable. Lena could feel Aubrey's rage pulsing behind her like heat. Brandon, too, hovered nearby, pretending composure, while panic gnawed at the edges of his confident mask. Lena, we need to talk, Brandon said, grabbing her arm. She pulled away, voice ice cold. Don't touch me. A few guests glanced over. Whispers started forming. Aubrey stepped in, plastering on a bright, brittle smile. Everyone, please excuse my husband. He's having a stressful week. Husband. The word cracked through the air like lightning. Even Brandon winced. Cole folded his arms, amusement flickering in his eyes. Interesting title choice, Ms. Lane. More guests turned. A small circle formed around them, polite but predatory. The way wealthy people gather when they sense a scandal unfolding. Aubrey's voice sharpened. I didn't mean. But Lena cut her off. Oh no, please continue. I'd love for everyone to hear what you meant. A tense silence. Lena took a step forward, her voice calm but carrying effortlessly across the marble floor. Aubrey Lane offered me $50,000 to leave my husband, right in the lobby of Helix Tech Tower, in front of employees. Gasps rippled outward. Someone nearly dropped their champagne flute. Aubrey's face twisted. She's lying. You all know how unstable she is. Cole lifted a hand. Actually, I was standing 10 feet away. I saw the entire exchange. All eyes snapped to him. A COO, a man whose word carried weight. Aubrey's breath hitched. Brandon turned pale. But Lena wasn't finished. She reached into her clutch, pulling out the envelope Aubrey had given her, still sealed, still heavy. She held it up between two fingers. Aubrey, darling, I believe this belongs to you. The crowd murmured, half shocked, half thrilled. Aubrey lunged forward, hissing, Give me that. But Lena stepped back, her smile sharp as glass. Careful. You wouldn't want to make a scene at such a respectable event. The humiliation was complete. Aubrey froze, trembling with fury, trapped beneath 100 staring eyes. And for the first time, Lena stood taller than both of them. The ballroom seemed to freeze, music dimming, servers pausing mid-step, guests leaning in as if the air itself demanded silence. Lena stood centered in the chaos, the sealed envelope still held delicately in her hand, like an exhibit in a courtroom. Aubrey's breath came fast and uneven. Brandon's jaw clenched, his composure cracking like thin glass. Cole stepped forward, not aggressively, not theatrically, but with the measured authority of a man who had walked into countless boardrooms prepared to dismantle empires. I think it's time everyone hears the full truth, Brandon barked. Cole, don't get involved. But Cole cut him off with a quiet, lethal tone. I've been involved since your mistress tried to bribe your wife in a public lobby. Gasps. A champagne flute shattered somewhere behind them. Aubrey spun toward Brandon, eyes wide. You told me no one would believe her. You said we could control this. Shut up, Brandon hissed, gripping her arm. But she yanked away, panic rising. No, you shut up! You promised I'd be protected. You said Helix Tech wouldn't investigate me if... Lena's voice sliced through the tension. If what, Aubrey? Aubrey's mouth opened, then snapped shut. Too late. Cole turned to the watching crowd. For anyone curious, Aubrey Lane was terminated from her previous company for financial misconduct, covered up with a non-disclosure agreement, one her new employer is now aware of. A wave of murmurs spread like wildfire. Faces shifted, intrigue turning to judgment, curiosity to condemnation. Brandon's voice shook. This is slander. It's documentation, Cole replied calmly. And Helix Tech's ethics committee already has it, along with evidence of your own financial discrepancies. The room erupted in whispers. Board members exchanged looks. Someone pulled out their phone. Brandon lunged a step toward Cole. You don't know what you're talking about. Cole didn't flinch. Actually, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And so will the investigative auditors on Monday morning. Aubrey's face drained of all color. You said the transfers were hidden. Brandon rounded on her. I told you not to talk about that in public, Aubrey screamed. You promised me a future. Lena stepped forward then, not with aggression but with clarity, a woman stepping fully out of the shadows. Brandon, Aubrey, your future was built on lies. Mine won't be. The room watched her, not with pity, not with doubt, but with awe. Tonight, the prey had become the witness, and the truth was finally, irreversibly out. The gala dissolved into chaos the moment Brandon lunged toward Cole, an act of pure panic rather than aggression. 2 board members intercepted him instantly, pulling him back as murmurs swelled into a deafening chorus. Cameras flashed. Guests recorded. The scandal he feared most was no longer a distant threat. It was happening in real time, in tuxedos and diamonds. Let go of me, Brandon barked, jerking uselessly against the men holding him. But his voice cracked, betraying the fear beneath the fury. One of the Helix Tech board directors, Victor Lansing, stepped forward. His expression was carved from stone. Brandon, we need you to come with us. Now. Brandon shook his head violently. This is overreacting. Cole is lying. Lena put him up to this. She's always been unstable. But Victor raised a hand. We've received preliminary internal audit reports. The discrepancies are real, and your access to company systems has been suspended as of 10 minutes ago. Brandon froze. It was the first time in years Lena had seen him truly still. No arrogance, no charm, no rehearsed confidence. Just a man watching the ground crumble beneath him. Aubrey stepped backward, eyes wide. Suspended? Wait, why me? I didn't do anything. Another board member approached, voice clinical. Ms. Lane, you'll need to surrender your company badge immediately. There is evidence you've tampered with internal financial documentation. The color drained from her face. That's not possible. Brandon told me. But the sentence died as Brandon snapped. You weren't supposed to touch the files, Aubrey. The room went silent. Every whisper ceased. Every camera lifted. He had just implicated both of them. Aubrey slapped him across the face, hard enough to echo. You ruined me, she screamed. You said I'd be safe. You were supposed to follow instructions, Brandon shot back. You're the one who... Victor cut him off sharply. Enough. Security will escort both of you off the premises. 2 uniformed guards stepped forward. Brandon paled. Wait, no, please! Can't we discuss this privately? Victor's voice was ice. You discussed it publicly when you stole from your company. Aubrey sobbed, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Brandon looked around desperately, searching for someone, anyone to save him. But every face had turned cold, including Lena's. He tried one last time. Lena. Honey. Tell them this is being blown out of proportion. Lena stepped forward, meeting his eyes without trembling. Brandon, the only thing blown out of proportion was your ego. And for the first time, he understood she would never save him again. Security moved in before Aubrey could bolt. One sharp nod from the director, and both guards positioned themselves beside her. The glamorous silver gown she'd chosen for attention now felt like a spotlight she couldn't escape. "Ms. Lane," one guard said, "you'll need to come with us." Aubrey stumbled backward, panic twisting her features into something wild. No, this isn't happening. I didn't do anything. Brandon dragged me into all of this." Brandon scoffed. "Dragged you? You were thrilled to be involved, until you got caught." Gasps rippled through the guests. Someone whispered, "She's finished." Aubrey's eyes darted desperately from face to face, searching for a lifeline. She found none. Not even Brandon. Especially not Brandon. Her voice cracked. "Please, someone tell them. I'm the victim here." Victor Lansing stepped forward, speaking with the steady authority of a man accustomed to ending careers with a sentence. "Ms. Lane, Helix Tech's investigation uncovered evidence of falsified documents tied to your employee login, and further review of your employment history raises significant ethical concerns." Aubrey shook her head violently. "No, those files were sealed. They can't access those." "They can," Victor replied, "when fraud is involved." Aubrey turned to Brandon in disbelief. "You said they could never trace it back to me," Brandon glared. "And you said you knew how to cover your tracks." Their partnership crumbled publicly, ugly and loud. Two conspirators suddenly devouring each other to survive. Lena watched silently. No gloating, no pity, just clarity. Aubrey lunged toward her next, face streaked with tears and ruined mascara. "This is your fault. If you had just left like you were supposed to." Lena stepped back, calm as a still lake. "I was never the one who needed to leave." The simplicity of the truth struck harder than any shouting match. Security gently, but firmly, took Aubrey by the arms. She tried to twist free, screaming, "You don't understand. I'm meant for this world. I belong here." But the room disagreed. The silence was judgment. The stares were verdicts. As she was escorted away, her cries echoing down the marble hall, Lena felt something inside herself release. A knot that had been twisting for months. Aubrey had stolen her dignity, her confidence, even her sense of reality. But tonight, the universe returned the balance. Justice didn't arrive quietly. It arrived with spotlights, witnesses, and a fall so loud the entire valley could hear it. The gala slowly returned to motion, but the energy had shifted. Subtle, reverent, electric. The scandal had detonated in the center of the ballroom like fireworks, and now every guest watched Lena as though she were the unexpected heroine of a story they hadn't realized they were witnessing. Cole approached her quietly. "You handled yourself with grace," he said. Lena exhaled shakily. "I thought I would fall apart." "You didn't," he said. "That's the difference between you and them." She glanced toward the balcony doors, needing air. Cole followed, but kept a respectful distance as she stepped outside. The night breeze rolled across the vineyard, cool and steady, filling her lungs. For the first time in years, she felt taller. Not because of the heels, because she finally recognized herself. Through the glass, she saw Brandon surrounded by board members, faces stern, arms crossed. He looked trapped, cornered, stripped of the power he once wielded so casually. Once, she would have rushed to him, comforted him, believed him, hoped for his remorse. Tonight, she watched without flinching. A soft voice cut through her thoughts. "Lena?" She turned to see Victor Lansing standing in the doorway. "I wanted to thank you," he said. "Your courage exposed issues we've been trying to uncover for months." Lena blinked. I exposed them by accident. Maybe, Victor replied. But you followed through when it mattered. That's what counts. Cole stepped beside them. She's also smarter than she realizes. Lena flushed, shaking her head. I'm just trying to survive. You're doing far more than that, Cole said. You're rebuilding. Victor nodded once before returning inside, leaving Lena and Cole alone under the fairy lights strung across the balcony. After a moment of silence, Cole spoke again, so gently it startled her. Lena, when this is over, when the dust settles, what do you want? No one had asked her that in years. Brandon only ever asked what he needed. Aubrey asked what she would give up. Her mother asked what she could endure. But what did she want? Lena looked out over the glowing vineyard, breath steady. I want a life that doesn't hurt to live. Cole's expression softened, deeply, sincerely. And you'll have it, he said. I'll make sure of that. For the first time, she believed someone. For the first time, she believed herself. The morning after the gala felt like stepping into a new world, one built on truth, not fear. Lena walked through the glass doors of Evelyn Ward's law office, with her shoulders square, her breath steady, her heart no longer trembling. She wasn't the woman who'd accepted humiliation in a corporate lobby. She wasn't the wife who'd begged for scraps of affection. She was someone who had survived, and someone who was about to win. Evelyn motioned for her to sit. I have good news, the attorney said, sliding a packet across the polished table. Helix Tech is cooperating fully. Your testimony and the evidence Cole provided solidify a strong case. Brandon will face criminal charges, and Aubrey's misconduct disqualifies her from any countersuit. Lena exhaled slowly. What about the divorce? Evelyn smiled, sharp and satisfied. He's agreed to settle, generously. Lena blinked. He agreed? His lawyers advised him he has no leverage left. You'll receive alimony, a portion of his retirement fund, and damages for emotional distress. More than enough to rebuild your life. The words washed over her like warm sunlight. For months, Lena had braced for loss. Today, she received restoration. After signing the final documents, she stepped outside into the crisp San Francisco air. Cole was waiting near the curb, leaning casually against his car, the morning light softening the edges of his usually composed expression. It's done, she said. Cole studied her face. How do you feel? She paused, searching for an honest answer. Light. Like I finally put down something heavy I didn't realize I'd been carrying. He nodded, slow and genuine. You deserve that. For a moment, they stood in quiet understanding. Two people whose lives had crossed in chaos, but aligned in something gentler, steadier. Then Cole offered his hand. No pressure, no expectations. But if you ever want to explore what comes next, together, I'd like that. Lena looked at his hand, then up into eyes that had never once lied to her, and she smiled. Maybe I'm finally ready to want something good, she said softly. And maybe I want you. Cole's breath hitched, not in surprise, but in relief. As they walked down the street, her heart felt full for the first time in years. Justice had been served. Peace had returned. And Lena Whitmore, once broken, discarded, underestimated, stepped into a future she had earned with every scar. So, that's where our story comes to an end. And if you're still here with us, still listening all the way to this moment, then maybe something in Lena's journey touched your heart in a way you didn't expect. Maybe it reminded you of a wound you've carried, or a strength you forgot you had. Life has a way of breaking us down quietly, doesn't it? But like the Stoic Marcus Aurelius once said, What stands in the way becomes the way. Every hardship, every betrayal, every night we think we won't survive. Those moments shape us into someone wiser, stronger, more awake. Lena didn't rise because the world got kinder. She rose because she finally chose herself. And that's something every one of us can do. Healing doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in the small, steady decisions to stop carrying what hurts and start choosing what heals. If this story made you feel seen, understood, or a little less alone, stay with us. Like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next journey we take together. Because you, just like Lena, deserve a life that finally feels like yours. Just a quick note, my friends. The story you've just watched is a fictional dramatization created purely for entertainment and emotional reflection. None of the characters, events, companies, or situations are real, and any resemblance to actual people is completely coincidental. We craft these stories to explore human emotions, resilience, and the choices that shape us, not to portray real individuals or real-life scandals. The lesson isn't about pointing fingers. It's about understanding ourselves better through storytelling. So please remember, this narrative is a safe space to feel, to think, and to heal. Not a documentary or a retelling of factual events. Thank you for watching with an open heart and a thoughtful mind. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content for you.